I want nothing. I want nothing. I want no quid pro quo. Tell Zelensky, President Zelensky, to do the right thing. Ambassador Sondland, I don't know him very well. I have not spoken to him much. This is not a man I know well. Seems like a nice guy, though.
Was there a quid pro quo? With regard to the requested White House call and the White House meeting, the answer is yes. Mr. Giuliani was expressing the desires of the President of the United States, and we knew these investigations were important to the President. I later came to believe that the resumption of security aid would not occur until there was a public statement from Ukraine committing to the investigations of the 2016 elections and Burisma, as Mr. Giuliani had demanded. President Trump never told me directly that the aid was conditioned on the meeting.
So you heard President Trump ask Ambassador Sondland, is he going to do the investigation?
Yes, sir. He said, oh, yeah, he's going to do it. He'll do anything you ask.
Fortunately, I had a bit of a blow-up with Ambassador Sondland, and I had a couple of testy encounters with him. One of those was in June 18, when I actually said to him, who put you in charge of Ukraine? And, I'll admit I was a bit rude, and that's when he told me the president, which shut me up. And what I was angry about was that he wasn't coordinating with us. Now, I actually realised, having listened to his deposition, that he was absolutely right, that he wasn't coordinating with us because we weren't doing the same thing that he was doing.
My colleagues seem to think unless the president says the magic words, I hereby bribe the Ukrainians, that there's no evidence of bribery or other high crimes or misdemeanors. The question is, what are we prepared to do about it? Is there any accountability? Or are we forced to conclude that this is just now the world that we live in? There is nothing more dangerous than an unethical president who believes they are above the law. We are better than that.
There's the gavel. I'm Andre Coleman.
I'm Justin Chapman.
It's NewsRap live at 5. Drums now. All right, well, that's obviously not Barry Gordon.
No.
Justin Chapman, welcome aboard.
Thanks for having me.
Tell people a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a journalist here in Pasadena. Andre, in fact, got me started 15 years ago as of this January.
That's right.
Kind of unbelievable how quickly that went.
15 glorious years.
Yeah. So I'm in huge debt to this guy right here, and happy to be here.
Good to see. Now, you did some acting when you were younger.
Yes, I did.
I always end up with these child stars next to me on this show. And mentioning child stars, Barry Gordon's somewhere Skyping in Hawaii, probably complaining about the weather, like Hawaii's ever bad. Barry, can you hear me?
I can. How you doing, man?
It's good to see you, man. I thought you were going to be here. Final show of the season.
Hey, Barry.
Final show of the season, and you go bail to Hawaii. I mean, what kind of deal is this?
Oh, I know. That was unexpected. I was supposed to be there. My wife comes once a month to do business and visit the grandkids. And she just said, you want to come? And frankly, yeah, I did. So,
well, yeah, who's going to say no, right?
Exactly.
So you saw the hearings. Justin saw the hearings. I saw the hearings. Barry, what do you think?
I think that the good news is I think there's absolutely no question that he is guilty as sin.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
The bad news, I think there's an entire political elite who just will refuse to believe that.
So you don't think anybody will move in that direction at all?
We've had that conversation. I thought they would. I thought there were people that would. But I am starting to see that this party is just willfully blind to things that would make their hair stand on end if a Democrat did it. And I do not see it changing, because I would have thought somebody maybe like Will Hurd might started to make the shift during that hearing, and he didn't budge.
Yeah.
Well, in a couple days, we're going to get the latest poll numbers. In a couple days, we'll get the poll numbers, and we'll see if it moved the American people at all. It was some very powerful testimony at the end, and I'm going to bring in Justin and get his opinion.
Well, the thing that would move those Republicans are the people who Trump is refusing to let testify.
Yeah.
And so the question for Democrats is, do they wait for these court orders saying that John Bolton can testify or Mulvaney has to testify?
Bring Barry back up.
Or do they just, full speed ahead with what they've got? That's a big decision they've got to make right now.
I agree. And you know what? I think the Democrats did make a mistake, because I do think that they should have pushed to get, at the very least, John Bolton. I think we needed somebody in the White House to come forward and force them to testify on this. I think we really needed that.
Well, and what's he doing? Look at all these civil servants showing the courage to come forward and testify. And what is he hiding behind?
Right. So, Barry, which witness moved you the most?
I think Monday is going to be very important, because on Monday, the court is going to be giving an expedited ruling on whether Don McGahn has to comply with the subpoena. And if that goes in the Democrats' favor, I'm sure that Trump will appeal it. But the question is, because there's an impeachment, will the appeals court give an injunction, stay the action?
Right.
Say, no, you've got to go and testify.
So which?
Because
go ahead.
Accelerating now.
Yeah.
Which witness moved you the most, Barry? I mean, I know you know this stuff. I know it. Justin knows it. But whose testimony was the most riveting to you?
From a lawyer's perspective, the most riveting testimony for me was Sondland's.
Okay.
From a human perspective, I have to go with Fiona.
I think
because
we got a little delay here, so excuse us. But I think something is going on here that people are missing, and I'm going to tell you what happened. I don't know how you say her name, and I forget her name half the time. But I think it's Elise Stiffneck, something like that. Whatever her name is.
Stefanik.
Oh, Stefanik, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Her opponent raised $1 million last weekend.
Yep.
$1 million. And it all came from people who believe.
Was it
Trenda Cobb. She raised $1 million, and it all came from people who believed that the Republicans were lying and acting in an unethical way. So if voters are moving in that direction, then something, I'm not saying he's going to be removed, but some things can happen. And they might be down the line when they happen, maybe in the election, but there's a possibility that this could reverberate.
Well, I definitely think that things are going to happen in the election. I really do. I think that I think he's probably lost pretty much every independent in America.
I agree.
And I definitely think that he's going to get crushed in this election, because I think if he does not get impeached, there are going to be enough people who are going to say, well, then it's our job.
Yeah.
And that's what we have to do now, to get this man out of office. So I do have hope on that, yeah.
I totally see what you're saying, and I'm also completely scared out of my mind. I think it behooves us to not underestimate what he is willing to do to hold on to power. That guy with that ego, with the power of the presidency behind him and the power of Russia behind him, is not going to be a one-termer.
Well,
if he has anything to do with it.
Staying on his ego, what will that ego do if it hits him like a lightning bolt that I am going to lose this in front of the whole world? If reality sinks in and it's true, what will that ego lead him to do? Will it force him to resign and claim he has health issues? Say that again, Barry?
I think he'll go up to the top of a tower somewhere with an AK-47.
Wait, are you saying he's going to take other people out or himself?
I think he's going to take other people out, yeah.
Oh, well, that's not what I want. Well, he was rushed to the hospital this week with chest pains. This past weekend. So.
Well, according to one story, yeah.
That's kind of pretty much accepted now, from what I understand. And then he's seen getting off the plane at a rally. His doctor's the second person off the plane with him.
I think if he leaves, it'll be for a reason like that, not of his own volition.
Well, if he leaves for the health issue, he will be able to forever say, if he was not ill, what would have happened and how he would have won by a landslide. And his followers will... I don't know what language that was, but that was pretty cool. And his followers will be able to say that that it was a conspiracy.
No,
and that somehow...
I said it was a heck of a face saver.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Sounded like buckwheat for a second there. But it's good to see you, man. It's good to see you. This is the last show of the season, man.
Good to see you guys.
It's been an amazing season.
Carry on, and let me just wish everybody at the studio and at home a wonderful, wonderful holiday season. Have a happy, wonderful new year, and we'll see you in January sometime.
All right, man. Take it easy.
Have fun, Barry.
Hope it clears up out there.
Yeah, I do the pictures too.
Take it easy, bro.
All right. Good to see you, Jesse. Bye.
Go ahead.
The other thing I think, obviously, the variable is whoever the Democratic candidate is. And so we had a debate this week.
Okay.
5th debate, right?
5th. That's about 3 too many.
Yeah, that's for sure. Still too many candidates.
Way too many.
They still need to cut that thing in half.
We got to get the stand on that thing down to 6 or 7.
Yeah, absolutely. And they talked about more substantive stuff this time, I think.
I agree.
It wasn't all about the minutia of healthcare, which I appreciated.
Right. Well, the Democrats cannot, as important as that issue is,
right.
The Democrats cannot just run on climate control and healthcare. At some point, we have to get around to talking about homelessness, which is a nationwide issue. We've got to talk foreign policy. Our economy is going to collapse. I don't care if it's tomorrow or I don't care if it's when the Democrat gets in office.
At some point, yeah.
At some point. And so we got to start talking about that,
Mm-hmm.
So I hope that this is kind of an indicator we're about to get into the meat of this thing.
Yeah.
But I'm with you. First off, Tulsi Gabbard's got to go. I don't care who you like, who you don't like. She's not doing the Democrats any favors.
Absolutely not.
Sitting there.
Yeah.
She's got to go.
Yeah.
I still would like just to get this thing down to Biden, Buttigieg, Warren, Sanders.
And Harris.
And maybe Booker.
Yeah.
That's what I would like to see at this point.
I think Steyer, his efforts would be useful elsewhere.
Yeah.
Not running for president, but helping organize, helping fund.
Fund somebody. Fund somebody. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
This guy Duvall, who got in, Barry and I talked about that last week.
Right.
We don't need every time one person jumps out, 2 people to jump in.
And he had an event this week and 2 people showed up.
2 people showed up. And one of them was probably his mom. Let's face it.
But Bloomberg's now in. He's throwing hundreds of millions of dollars at it. Another guy who could be helpful elsewhere.
So, who do you like in this thing before we move on towards local?
Well, I like any one of them over Trump, obviously.
Okay.
And
so we are in agreement?
Yeah. After that, I don't think any of them are perfect, but like we were talking about before, Democrats keep looking for a rock star like Obama, and they're not going to get one, at least not yet. And so there are some imperfect choices, and we got to go with what we got to go. What I'd like to see is for a woman to beat Trump, and in particular, a woman of color.
Wow.
But a woman will do. I mean, that would just be
that would be justice.
That would be the poetic justice that he deserves.
Right. You know what? I'll co-sign on that. I'll co-sign on that. And everything you said, I'll co-sign on. Whoever gets the nomination, I will get behind that person. There are some front runners, Buttigieg, who I'm not jumping up and down about, because I think, quite frankly, right now, he's only shown me he's an empty suit. We got to talk policy at some point. He has no support among people of color.
And has not tried at all
and almost flaunts it.
Right.
Which... that worries me a little bit.
Absolutely.
That's Trump-like when you flaunt that.
Right. 0% support in South Carolina. That's a problem.
That's a huge issue. So let's go to the local. We'll come back. Good job.
This is your local news brief for Friday, November 22nd, 2019. The Pasadena Unified School District Board of Education met Thursday, November 21st to vote on what changes are to come for middle school boundaries after the decision to close Wilson Middle School. Students who attend Wilson will be allowed to pick their new school via open enrollment or default to their new school through the new boundaries. The PUSD board also voted to table preparation of an $850 million bond measure intended for the March 2020 ballot. Board of Education member Scott Phelps clarifies in a Pasadena Now article that the action came strategically after closing schools so that voters, quote, would see that we are right-sizing, doing the painful work. That actually improves the efficiency of the usage of the funds because it's clear which sites would have priority and which wouldn't, end quote. On the contrary, former Pasadena Community College trustee Russ Selvage is quoted in the same article as saying, quote, voters will not know what they will or will not get for their money, what will be built, where it will be built, in what order it will be built, and when, end quote. Pasadena Weekly spoke with 28th Congressional District Representative and Chair of the Intelligence Committee, Adam Schiff. When asked about the catalyst in moving towards impeachment proceedings, Schiff answered, quote, it is dangerous to have a president with no moral compass and who feels he is above the law, end quote. When asked whether or not President Trump could have colluded with another nation, Schiff said, quote, it is certainly possible and he thinks he has the absolute right to do it, end quote. Schiff followed that statement by referencing hundreds of withheld documents and a classified call server. Quote, we don't know what other calls or evidence of improper calls are on there, end quote. The interview finished with Schiff elaborating on the acknowledgement of the Armenian genocide, saying, quote, it will be recognized every year with annual commemoration, and that's the way it should be, end quote. Representative Adam Schiff's bill, the Rim of the Valley Corridor Preservation Act, will move to the House floor for consideration. The bill failed to pass the legislature twice in 2016 and 17. The bill would add nearly 200,000 acres of protected parks, wildlands, and historic sites around the San Fernando and San Gabriel valleys. Concerns had been raised as to how this would affect private property rights. Also garnering concern is that this version of the bill requires the Department of Interior to purchase land only from willing sellers.
Locally.
Big week.
Last night was the very first candidates forum of Pasadena's 2020 election season.
You were there.
I was there. I covered it. Well, it wasn't all of the candidates.
Okay.
It was hosted by Democrats of Pasadena Foothills, and they only invited candidates who are registered Democrats.
So that's everybody pretty much but one.
There were some. It was half and half, I'd say.
Okay.
Maybe a little more than half were there. They each spoke for 5 minutes and then talked to voters.
Now, is there anybody who impressed you, just really kind of stood out?
I'd say most of them have a good idea of what they want to focus on.
Okay.
Obviously, the main theme was affordable housing. The biggest running theme throughout, almost every single candidate mentioned it, in addition to the public schools crisis.
Wow.
Education and affordable housing were the two big issues.
Do you think those two issues will continue to drive this election?
I think they will play a major role, yes.
The PUSD thing is going to be hard to get around.
Yeah.
Because if you're promising to fix that, I would give you a word of caution.
Yeah.
Tread lightly.
Right.
Because I don't think anybody's going to fix it anytime soon.
Right.
I'm not saying it can't be fixed. I'm not saying I don't want it to be fixed. But that's something really heavy to kind of co-sign and put your name on.
Well, I mean, first and foremost, they need more state funding.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the biggest issue.
And that's always going to be an issue.
In addition to the unaffordable housing situation in Pasadena, which drives families out, which drives school-aged children out.
If we keep going at the rate we're going, that affordable housing situation, you're going to see business revenue like restaurants go down because that's what people are going to cut out.
Right.
I gotta pay the rent. I gotta take care of business. I can't afford to go out as much.
Right.
And then it's going to seriously impact business, the business economy in the city.
It touches everything. That's why the housing situation will continue to be one, if not the major issue of the campaign.
And it's not. Well, let me back up. It shocked me when the city quickly went, we will pass this moratorium, which they did a couple of weeks ago.
Right.
Because they wouldn't even, I won't say they wouldn't because nobody brought it up, but they hadn't even talked about rent control.
Right.
And then, boom, rent control.
They wouldn't even consider any form of it.
And then they stayed up till midnight to do it.
Right.
Just like that.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's not going away just because you did it this time. When we get to January, we're going to be right back where we were before with people going, look, my rent is still going up 5 to 7%.
Right.
The city is going to have to pass something that penalizes. You can't just go, hey, well, here's something you can use and take people to court. If you can't afford to pay your rent, how are you taking anybody to court?
Right.
Think about it. We're going to have something, an enforcement arm on this thing.
Yeah.
The city's going to have to begin to protect the less fortunate in the community. But I want to go back to the elections.
Yeah.
Now, Justin and I have worked together a long time. And Justin has covered elections before. He's interviewed candidates. So this is a different perspective than usual because now it's me talking to a peer, somebody who's done what I do. You brought the list along.
Yeah, so this is the list of candidates who have pulled nomination papers from the city clerk's office as of 2 days ago.
Okay, what stands out? You guys can't see the list, but most of the viewers probably have some idea who's running. So let's go just to tell people the incumbents in each race. So Terry Tornick, the mayor, is running for re-election. Tyrone Hampton. District 2 is interesting because there is no incumbent as Margaret McAustin steps down. District 4, Gene Masuda. And District 6, Steve Madison. What stands out when you look at the whole list immediately?
Most of them are political newcomers.
Yeah, I agree. And when you get political newcomers, it gets a little bit harder to cover because I haven't talked to most of these people, but I guarantee you somebody on there just wants speed bumps on their street.
Well, there's less known about them, obviously, and they, like you said, there's 1 or 2 issues that they really care about.
Right. They're not thinking it through that it's a 4-year term of service.
That said, I think there are going to be a couple of competitive races.
Okay. Which one?
Don't
say the mayor. We'll come back to that. Go ahead, because that's where you were going.
It was, but District 6, I think Steve has a couple of strong challengers.
Now that's your neighborhood. You live in District 6.
It is.
Okay, so let me run through these. Do you know Mark Hanna?
I do not.
Do you know Tamerlane Godley?
Just recently.
Okay, there's one. William B. DeClerco?
DeClerc, I think.
DeClerc.
No.
Ryan Bell?
I do know Ryan.
Okay. So now, District 6, your area, and I know you're going to be, trust me, I know before this is over, you're going to be familiar with everybody on here, who you can be. Who do you like so far? And I'm not saying this is not an endorsement.
Right.
I'm just asking who you like. It could be one or all or two.
Well, I think Tamerlane and Ryan will both. I don't know if they'll topple Steve, but they'll certainly give him a run for his money. He hasn't had a serious challenger in a long time, if ever, really.
I think Carolyn Neighbor was a serious challenger financially. I think it pushed him. But I'll tell you something about Steve. Steve is one of the candidates. He runs very, very well when he's pushed. And I think it's because, like Schiff, he's a federal prosecutor.
Right.
So that'll be interesting. Let's move to District 4.
District 4, Gene Masuda's district. I don't think that will be as competitive.
I don't either. I think there's a chance Madison's district could go to a runoff, but I think Gene's going to get 50 plus 1% outright. And I will tell you why. The biggest issue in District 4 is Space Bank.
Right.
And Gene is on the right side of that issue.
Right.
So whatever issue these candidates pull after that, you cannot say Gene has been asleep at the wheel on the issue. Everybody in his
or that he's out of touch,
or that he's out of touch.
And the candidates who from District 4 who spoke last night are also opposed to Space Bank. So what do you run against?
Right. So you think like the incumbent, why would I bring you in and move him out?
Right.
District 2 is interesting to me. Margaret's not running for re-election. The only woman on the council currently.
Right.
She has endorsed, from what I understand, Tricia Keene. She didn't do it with me, but she did in Pasadena now. But clearly, Felicia has to be the front runner at this point.
Yeah, her and Tricia, I think, are both strong candidates. It'll be one of them. Probably a runoff between those two.
Yeah, because I don't know Kevin, I don't know Alex, and I don't know.
Right, me neither.
Bo.
Yeah.
So unless you're going to impress me.
And then District 1
is a given.
A given.
I don't
yeah.
even know what these dudes are doing, to tell you the truth, man. Just save your $25 and, you know. I'm surprised Tyrone, and I spoke to Tyrone today.
Mm-hmm.
He said he hasn't qualified yet, but Tyrone's not going to have a problem qualifying. He's not going to have a problem winning. Yeah. Now we can go to the mayor's race.
Yeah, okay.
Before we do that, let's go to Studio B. I think we're out of time. We're going to go to Studio B, and we're going to come back. We're going to talk about this mayor's race for about 10 minutes, and then we'll call it a night. All right?
Cool.
Stay with us. We'll be right back. NewsRap Live at 5.